Making and cutting royal burgundy. This is what the top looked like before I wrapped it up so it could saponify and turn into soap. This is just a rough cut, the whole loaf. The following pictures are just a few pictures of the face of the soap in the top so you can see the design. I first called it Drink Wine, Be Happy, because I have like 4 happy faces in my soap. These are not finished bars. They just dried a couple of weeks before I displayed them and took pictures. Here I'm making soap with Burgundy wine and it's dehydrated. My oils are at 108, my lye solution is at 100, and that is Fahrenheit. It's acceptable to be 10 degrees difference, so that's 8 degrees, we're good to go. Anytime I use my stainless steel container for my lye solution, I always use a strainer because it likes to dry around the inside of the container, and I don't want little particles of dried lye in my soap mixture. I always dissolve my cruelty-free silk fibers in my hot lye solution, and then I add my EDTA, which is a chelator. I've been making soap for about 10 years now, and primarily every bar of or loaf of soap that I've made, I've used a stick blender to pour the lye solution over to prevent the air bubbles, or at least some of the air bubbles, from getting in the soap batter. And then I stick blended as soon as that, would bring it to light trace and then work from there. Now I'm trying to do some different things, which is soaping at cooler temperatures and using the whisk instead of the stick blender. Here I have my King's Gold mixed into some of my reserved oils. I have Queen's Purple mixed into some reserved oils, and the base is going to be colored with Brazilian clay. The fragrance is Sultana Queen. Do you detect a touch of royalty in the items I've chosen for this soap? Not always, but I do try to tie in the colors, possibly the design that I'm making, as well as the fragrance oil to what I'm going to name the soap. Sometimes that's not possible, but often I can do that. So that's why I chose the colors I did, because it pairs well, I think, with the fragrance oil. In understanding how stick blending can cause emulsion to come quicker than whisking and then reaching trace, it's not really surprising that whisking will cause the mixture not to emulsify as quickly. But I've not ever really tried to do this, so I'm very well pleased with how long I have to work with my soap batter. Since I'm trying 3 things different than I usually do, it's a little difficult for me to distinguish when my mixture has become emulsified. So that's why I'm lifting up my whisk a time or two and moving it back and forth just to make sure that when it drizzles off, it's not leaving a trace. That means I've went past what I wanted to, which is prior to emulsion. Because shortly after emulsion, it goes ahead and goes into thin trace. And I'm wanting to divide my colors prior to emulsion. That way I have a little bit more time to work before reaching a thin trace. In designing my soap in years past, I really didn't worry about detecting once my soap went from just a mixture of lye solution and oils to emulsification, because I purposely brought it to light trace with a stick blender quickly and then did my design. However, I'm ready for new challenges and new designs. I believe I have the amount of gold and purple that I want. Now I'm pouring the fragrance oil into the main portion, which is the base, and then there's my Brazilian clay. And I believe I also have, I haven't looked at my notes while I'm doing this, but I believe I also have a little bit of black sparkle mica in it. Call me a kid at heart, but I do enjoy watching this part in slow motion. It's just something magical, as a kid would think, when stirring it around, and it just looks really cool to me. Now I get to try out one of my new toys. I purchased from Amazon a set of round containers that have dividers. This one has 2 dividers, therefore I have 3 colors, so I bought a set that has 2, 3, 4, and 5 compartments. So I don't have to layer my colors. You can do a lot of things with this, but I'm wanting to put gold, purple, and gold, and purple, and this way it lays 3 colors down all at once for me. And I'm not too good at lining this up, but I'm not so much picky. Correction, they have 5 compartments, not 5 dividers, because that would give 6 colors. Plus, it's a whole different process than what I'm doing here. Since I do this a few times over, I'm going to speed things up a bit. Just as I set this container down and put the spoon in it, it disturbs part of the batter, and as the rest of the batter is leveling out, that disturbance stays there. That means it's a thick trace. I'm banging it down just to get any air bubbles that might be in it worked up to the surface. Only on a couple occasions did I have a small pinhole in my soap, so I just took off a little bit of the residue from the guitar strings when I cut them and used it to place in the hole, smoothed it out a bit, and that's done right when I've cut the soap, so that the soap is still pretty pliable, and what gets on the guitar strings I just pulled off a little and fixed the hole, and you never could tell it had one. Speeding things up a bit to save some time, as well as not bore you. Since I don't have my little thin wooden skewer, I'm using my sharp knife because it has a nice little point to it, and I'm just making a little swirly design on the top. And there you have it. Banging it, try to get any little air bubbles worked out, and she's done. I can't wait to see how the gold and purple swirl on the top. It's recommended to use 99% alcohol. I can get the 90% rubbing alcohol at Walmart, so I use that to spritz on the top to help prevent soda ash. Soda ash is strictly aesthetic. It does not do anything to the function of soap. And because I generally unmold and cut my soap into bars after about a day and a half, I don't wait for the 48-hour mark because I'm too anxious to see what the soap is going to look like. I do sometimes get soda ash, but that can easily be remedied with running the bar of soap under warm water. And also, I have noticed that a lot of people use steamers, so I bought one. I haven't used it yet, but I'm anxious to use it on these new 7 loaves of soap that I have made over a period of 2.5 days. Here I'm just wrapping it up in multiple towels to keep the heat in while it saponifies. Unmolding and cutting. When it's set up enough to remove, I just gently push on the bottom underneath side and you can hear, well, I don't have the audio on, but you can hear it drop down. You'll notice that I have a couple of my strings broke off my loaf cutter. I tried to make, or I made some melt and pour glycerin soap, and I made it with 100% coconut oils, and it was super hard to cut, and I really should have done it with a knife. Now for my most favorite part of all, the reveal. I was surprised to see some happy faces in this soap. So when I cut them, there's about 4 bars that have a little happy face on one side or the other of the bars. My apologies, I'm not getting the soap over far enough to where you can see that one side. Not holding it down low enough. There we go. There's one of the happy faces right there. And then on the back side of this the next bar would be also the happy face. If I were to flip it over, that would look like it has its tongue sticking out. Another tongue sticking out. Now I have to move it over so that I can get the other 2 cut. Looks like tongue sticking out with its eyes closed. There you have it.